What up, gang of Lane? Carolina Jackpot Time coming at you on Saturday afternoon. And week 0, game 1 is in the books. And I guess an exciting end to a game that really wasn't all that exciting. And Florida State goes down 24-21 to Georgia Tech in a game that features a long field goal to win it and a long field goal to tie it as time expires in the first half. Kind of crazy the way that the kicking games were so on point today. You did see one missed field goal from Georgia Tech, but they came to play. And, as far as these Las Vegas betting lines go, people tell you a lot of times, don't follow the public money. You need to fade the public. The public doesn't know what they're talking about. Well, today, Las Vegas lost on this one because there were a lot of people on Georgia Tech. They bet that line down from Georgia Tech laying or getting 13.5 points to, getting 10.5, whatever it was. And Georgia Tech ends up outright winning it. Which the only place that Carolina Jackpot lost on that one was in our contest. I go 0-1 in our contest. Big shocker. I start the year off 0-1. That's fine. There's still plenty of games left to make up ground with. But I did actually take Georgia Tech in the money line, and I took the total in this game under the 55.5 because I figured either the defenses would be dominant or the offenses would be a wet fart. And, you kind of saw both in this matchup, but what I wanted to talk about specifically was Brent Key, head coach at Georgia Tech. I'm really impressed, and I don't know a whole lot about Brent Key, even though I read a little bit about him after this game and before it. He spent like 10 years on the staff at UCF under a couple of different head coaches, was a former player at Georgia Tech, spent, a couple of years at Georgia Tech before Jeff Collins was fired, named interim head coach, and then he went out and became the head coach, and he's turned this program, I'm not going to say he's turned it all the way around, but he's well on his way to getting it there, isn't he? And he had a hard task to overcome in a couple of ways. Number one, Jeff Collins was tasked with bringing this program from the Stone Age wishbone offense, the option offense that Paul Johnson ran for years and years down there, into like a modern day spread offense / a pro style offense, whatever whatever he wanted to try to get that team to. And he never he had a little bit of success, but it that didn't work out. He gets fired midway through, or almost all the way through the 2022 season after just some embarrassing performances against Clemson, some embarrassing performance against the upper teams in the ACC, against Georgia, losing to the Citadel. My God, who does that, right? You're an FBS team, you're losing to the Citadel, right? Who does that? Anyway, Brent Key takes over this program, takes the reins over, and immediately he injects a little bit of piss and vinegar into it. And last year, he goes 6-6 in the regular season. Tech ends up getting a bowl berth, and they go 7-6 after a bowl win against UCF. You'd think, well, they were on the come up a little bit, but, it's probably luck. They probably had the ball bounce their way a couple of times. And today, he goes and takes that team to Dublin, Ireland, starting out as 13.5-point underdogs, ending up as 10.5-point underdogs against a Florida State team that should have had everything in the world to prove such that you got left out of the college football playoffs last year. Your fans spent a lot of time upset about it. They spent a lot of time crying about it to anybody that would listen. Okay, and I don't know, how your team took it, but we know how they took it in terms of the postseason. They all quit. They opted out, and the ones who were already graduated or whatever, they weren't going to play, period. against Georgia Tech, and you lost 63-3 in the Orange Bowl to the Bulldogs. Fast forward to today, and Florida State is embroiled in a lawsuit with the ACC. They're embroiled in Twitter arguments with everybody who's calling their team soft, who's calling their team quitters from last year, which, by the way, they are, because I'm old school and I don't believe in that shit. I believe in you go out there and play the damn games. I believe in that the rules were created for a reason, and just because the rules didn't happen to benefit you this time doesn't mean that they're not in place and they're not guidelines. And that's the last I'm ever going to say about it, guys. The playoff committee put those rules in place in 2014 that if a coach or a player who led to the season that you had is unavailable for the playoffs, that is grounds for leaving you out of the playoffs. That's exactly what they did, and it was the right decision then. And by God, today we found out it was absolutely the right decision to make. That team did not look good. They didn't look prepared, and outside of the first drive of the game, looked very, very unimpressive. And I got to wonder about Mike Norvell. And, what were you doing? I think everybody's wondering that right now. Going out and getting DJ Uiagalelei out of the transfer portal. He had a few good games last year at Oregon State against mediocre-ass competition. He didn't do well at Clemson. And, everybody thinks that, he had a much better year last year than he did at Clemson. No, he really didn't. Statistic-wise, he threw one more touchdown. He had the same number of interceptions. He's the same guy. He's no better after coming out of the Oregon State system with Jonathan Smith, who was a really good head coach, by the way, and ended up getting a Big Ten job. Some of that may have had to do with the fact that Oregon State doesn't have a conference anymore, but still. He was coached by, I feel like, one of the guys who could have gotten him to a higher level if he was able to get to a higher level. And it just didn't happen. And then today, he goes out there, and it's pretty apparent that Mike Norvell's not even able to get the guy to the next level. You have had some pretty good quarterbacks under your tutelage, like what's his name, like Paxton Lynch or something at Memphis. Some really good players. Jordan Travis, obviously. I brought him up from a name that nobody knew into somebody really, really good. And DJ Uiagalelei, it's just a head scratcher why they brought this guy into the fold. You almost made the playoffs last year. You won your conference last year. You don't have to go out and try to get projects to make yourself look better now. Why y'all didn't go out and get the Ward dude from Washington State? Why'd you let Miami outbid you on him? There are several other quarterbacks who are in the portal too. The young man who ended up at Duke, what's his name, Malik Murphy, would have been a much better quarterback than what you've got right now. It absolutely makes no sense. I don't know why Mike Norvell had to go out and think that I'm going to try to rehabilitate DJU to put another feather in my cap, unless he's trying to, I don't know. You're almost at the top of the college football world. You almost made the playoffs at Florida State, which is an elite level program. Let's call it for what it is. Where else are you going to go? There aren't any SEC jobs that are open right now. Not any SEC jobs that you would want or consider taking. Yeah, maybe Vanderbilt, South Carolina, fucking Arkansas might come open at the end of the year, or Florida. But you ain't going to go to none of those other three places in Florida. You ain't going to go there. Nobody's going to go from Florida State to Florida. That's just blasphemy to try to do such as that. Any of the high-level programs like Georgia, Alabama, Texas, Oklahoma. No, they're not. Even Tennessee. I'll even fucking put you up there, Tennessee. Oh, let me go out here. Let me jack y'all's wiener off real quick and put you up there in the conversation with them, because that's what I know. That's what you're waiting on. Even that, none of these people are even considering replacing their head coach. So I don't know what you're trying to prove by going out and getting a shitty ass quarterback and trying to rehabilitate him out of the portal. I don't know. But this, number one, this game has proved people like Dabo, they may be right in that the transfer portal is not necessarily always the way to go. Because you had a hell of a team last year by using the portal. This year, it looks like that has all fallen apart. And it looks like using the portal is like a glass house type of deal, like a house of cards type of deal, isn't it? I've borne that out. You losing to Georgia Tech, not impressive, my man, not impressive at all. And then people like Brent Key, I got to give him some credit. I didn't know a lot about Brent Key, but I went right up about him. And what impressed me the most was his post-game little presser. It's not, I don't even call it a presser. It's a little running off the field interview. He gave like a one-liner, and he said, we got a game to play next week. Yeah, they got a game to play next week. Against who? I don't even know who it's against. Probably a nothing burger. But he knows what the task at hand is. He knows that they won this game. It's over with, and they've got to get focused on the next task at hand. He didn't sit here and talk about how proud he is of these guys and start tearing up and say how much this meant to these guys and how happy that locker room's going to be. And he didn't all that. In short, to paraphrase, he didn't act like a damn Shane Beamer. He didn't act like that. He went out, he gave a couple of one-liners, he was serious, and then it's like, get back to business. That's what South Carolina needs. That's what you need to be, Shane Beamer. Someone like Brent Key is proving that a serious head coach who is serious about what he's doing can succeed. And is he succeeding at the highest level? I don't know. And was this win today more based on the fact that he's gotten Georgia Tech moved up to the next level, or the fact that Florida State's just doo-doo? Look, it may be the latter. It may be because Georgia Tech's just doo-doo. But in the past, a team like Florida State that was just doo-doo would have beaten a team like Georgia Tech by 2 touchdowns. Still, be damned all the mistakes they made. Be damned all that. DJ Uiagalelei, for the stats that he had, the first half he was like 10 or 12 throwing the ball. I'm like, well, damn, he's like 10 or 12 throwing the ball. Yeah, but he didn't complete a ball past like 1.5 yards down the field. He completed 10 of 12 for like 95 yards, which is exactly what he did against South Carolina a couple of years ago, which is why he's not any good. And enough talk about him, but South Carolina needs a coach like a Brent Key, or either that, or we need Shane Beamer to get kind of serious like a Brent Key. I don't think Brent Key, if he lost the game, would go out and kick a water cooler and start crying. I don't think Brent Key would take his kids down on the field to run around and rub the rock after you lost a game by 40. I just don't think that you would see those things from a guy who is serious about being a head coach. Are you serious, Shane? Because I'm serious about wanting to win. I'm tired of this. Next week at 7:45, 8 o'clock at night, I don't want to be recapping the live stream that I did where we beat Old Dominion by 11 points, or we came back in the second half after the game was tied against Old Dominion and beat them, or we had 2 or 3 turnovers, but we're still able to win. And oh my God, the fight in these guys. It's just unbelievable. I want to go out there. I want to see Rocket Sanders put up about 150 yards in the first 3 quarters, put his dick down their throats, and beat their ass by 35 to 40 points, which is exactly what you should be doing. Is that what we're going to do? Because I think a coach that's serious about his craft, that's serious and can get focused with the team that we have, could absolutely do that. And and I've heard things in the comment section all week, all month, all summer long from Tennessee fans and Clemson fans talking about the roster and do-do-do-do-do and deeble-dobble-do and deeble-dobble this. They don't know shit about our roster. You've got a bunch of 3rd, 4th, and 5th year dudes over on that offense or over on that defense. You should have a good team defensively. And if you have that, you have the framework, right? Having a good offense is not necessarily the framework. If you have a decent, solid defense, and they don't even have to be a good defense, but if they're solid and they are players who have been around for a while, they're coachable, they're mature, they can build on that. And you can build up the rest of the team around that. And that's what I think that South Carolina is capable of doing. That's what I think we should be doing. And by God, that's what I'm going to lose my shit over if we are not doing come this time next week. So look at this for some inspiration. Today made Dabo look smart, maybe. Not only for not vesting everything in the transfer portal by not putting his Easter eggs all into the transfer portal, and it made someone like Brent Key look pretty smart too, by being tough, by not giving up, and by just going out there and putting the pedal to the metal, never giving up on what he's supposed to be doing and winning a ball game. Anyway, guys, I don't know what else I got to say about this. I don't know why I turned one ball game that has absolutely nothing to do with the Shane Beamer in South Carolina into a Shane Beamer in South Carolina video, but there you go. Hit the thumbs up on this video, please, if you enjoyed it. If you liked my little rant that I did here for about 16 minutes on Saturday afternoon while I'm waiting for New Mexico to start playing Montana State. It really means a lot to me, and it really helps my channel out, and it helps it to grow. Just like a 40-point win would make something else grow. Next Saturday night. I'll see y'all later. Appreciate you. Peace. I'm out of here. You didn't need that visual, though. Go Gamecocks. Woo!